I just wanted to hop on in case you are feeling like you have so many health symptoms going on and things just keep getting worse. Like, you feel like you make some progress or you see somebody for a while, like you've seen it, but by this point you've seen all of the different kinds of practitioners out there. You've seen the functional medicine doctors, you've seen the naturopaths, you've even seen health coaches, and it just feels like you might make a little bit of progress while you're seeing one or the other of these, and then just it's like things regress, things get worse even at some point. I've so been there. um I've been there. Like, I was in your shoes, was in that same situation. um for me, I was kind of dealing with, I don't even know. Like, the list of symptoms was so long, I kind of lost track and really only had the bandwidth to pay attention to like the top two or three worst symptoms. And it was like it felt like a game of whack-a-mole. It was like every time I got something big finally figured out or finally tamped down, something else would pop up. And this was happening over and over and over again. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. I There has to be a better way. Like, there has to be something fundamental I'm missing. There has to be like something, there just has to be a better way. Like, this cannot be how it is. I'm way too young for this shit. Um and so what happened is a friend of mine, like, I mean, I was in a pretty bad place. I ain't gonna lie. And a friend of mine um recommended that I look into spinal flow. And so I did, and it like transformed me. It changed my life. And this is one of those things that from session 1, I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is different than anything else I've tried." And I had tried a lot. Like, yeah, I was doing all the things from a more traditional medicine perspective. I was seeing all the specialists and doing all the things. And frick, I was self hacking my way to wellness. Like, I myself had cured myself of chronic UTI. Like, I'm kind of a badass in self hacking my way to wellness. And I was still so sick. And, uh, so anyways, she mentioned spinal flow, and I gave it a try. And from session 1, I was like, this is different. This is different from acupuncture. This is different from Reiki. This is different from myofunctional therapy, like different from sound therapy, different from like all of the things, fill in the blank. And I was hooked. So what I did was actually decided to become certified in that, because that's kind of what I did. Like, this revolutionized and transformed my life to the extent where I was like, I'm going to start offering this to others. There's not enough practitioners anywhere. There need to be more everywhere. I'm going to get certified in it. And, you know, like I say, that's what I did. So here, what the hell is it and what does it do? Well, let's talk about it. The premise of spinal flow is that you're basically, this is nervous system regulation, if you've heard of this. And before you click off, hang with me here, because this is not like some pie in the sky, meditate your way to wellness. This is real, tangible results in your own body. Okay. Now, here's the premise behind it. The premise behind it is any time throughout your life that you experience any kind of physical stressor that impacts the space between your vertebrae. Okay, so we've got all of these vertebrae in our spine stacked one on top of each other because they are joints, and in between we have this space for a nerve. And a nerve is like, it has mass. For a nerve to travel, the nerve needs that space in between. Not only that, the nerve communicates with tissues and organs. So between every single one of your vertebrae, you have nerves moving through that space. You have nerves exiting through that space. And nerve signal is just that. It is a signal. It is an impulse. It is an electrical, energetic impulse. When we are talking the energy world, anytime you have restriction, anytime you have resistance on that impulse, you are cutting off nerve flow to the organs and tissues that that nerve supplies. So what this means is anytime there is the space between vertebra is reduced, or in spinal flow, anytime we store physical, chemical, or emotional stress in the back of the mind, which is the spine. So this would be along, not necessarily in the vertebra, but alongside the vertebra. So you can actually feel this. As spinal flow practitioners, we are trained to feel these, what is called as blockages, these stored physical, emotional, and chemical stress alongside the spine in the, kind of in the muscle area, or just like periphery to the spine. We're trained to feel for that. And anytime that you have those, these are actually matter that is impeding with that electrical impulse. So because the way that electricity works is, basically like so think of an insulator, right? Like if you have a live wire, you put an insulator around it. That insulator is going to protect you from the energetic impulse itself. And if we think of our bodies as both energy and matter, which they are, then we need both energy and matter to keep us alive. And that means we need constant energy from these nerve impulses going through our body and into our tissues. And so anytime we have a buildup of these blockages, of these physical, emotional, and chemical stressors within our body and along our spine, then what happens is over time, the nerve flow and the nerve impulse to organs and tissues in that region of the body is diminished. And so eventually we wind up with disease state. And in spinal flow, we are trained to do assessments. And this consists actually of 3 different types of assessment to look for these blockages. So the first, we actually have you do a small series of movements, and they're easy to look for blockages in an area. So like one of them is tuck your chin to your chest. One of them is bring your right ear to your right shoulder, or bring your left ear to your left shoulder, like look over your right shoulder, look over your left shoulder. And what we're looking for in all of this is there any kind of like is there any kind of restriction in your movement? Is there any kind of rotation? Like when I say tuck your left ear to your left shoulder, are you looking up when that happens? Because that indicates that, oh, there's likely a blockage in this part of the spine that correlates with that particular assessment. And then we also do a palpation. And so this is where it's just light touch on either side of the spine, and we're actually feeling for these physical, chemical, and emotional stressors. The physical stressors, you typically kind of feel those along the spinal column itself. The chemical and the emotional tend to build up alongside the spinal column, and those have very distinct feels. It's very easy to differentiate a like a chemical storage spot or a chemical stressor from an energetic stressor, energetic, emotional stressor that's stored. Um, and then what's so interesting, so that's actually assessment 1 and assessment 2. And then we also typically do a postural assessment. So this is just, how are you holding your body? Is one shoulder higher or lower than the other? How do you look from the side? Like, do you have a more pronounced curve down here in the lower part of your spine? Are you kind of more pronounced like kyphosis, like folded shoulders over up here in the upper part of your spine? Like, what does that look like? And then what all of that information tells us is we're actually able to, this is kind of the cool part of it. Like, we're actually able to tell, oh, I bet this person's struggling with migraines because of the blockages that I'm feeling in this upper part of their spine. Oh, it seems like I can see why they have anxiety. Hmm. I understand why she's got a problem with adrenal fatigue. Like, I can feel that in her spine. And so then what we do in the actual spinal flow session is begin working with access points on your spine. And typically these are well, on your spine, I would say near your spine. These are down in the sacral region of the spine, and there are also a few access points as well up in the cranium. So what we're doing with this is actually communicating with the dura mater. So this is the sheath, the protective sheath that is surrounding both the brain and the spinal cord itself. And with that, what this does is it encourages the body to drop out of that stressed state, out of the fight or flight state into rest and digest state. And it is in rest and digest state where you can heal. And what this also does is encourages the flow of cerebrospinal fluid up and down the spine. And what this does, so CSF has many, many, many functions in your body. The primary function, when we're talking in terms of spinal flow, is that it is available to start washing away some of these stored stressors in the spine. And so it starts to dislodge those and return those to the lymphatic system where the body can process them and eliminate them from the body, because the lymph system drains back into the bloodstream. That gets circulated through the liver and the kidneys where it can get, these toxins can get processed and removed. And when we're talking emotion that was stored as physical matter can actually come out as emotion either during the session or after the session. And like, yes, you will experience in that. And I can attest, I can assure you, as somebody that has experienced a lot of emotional relief as an emotional release, as I have received spinal flow, it is not a bad thing. It's actually so cathartic. It's like, oh my gosh, I can finally get rid of that. Like, oh, I had no idea I was holding on to so much. And it's just, it's amazing. Um, yeah, I mean, I could speak for days about how spinal flow has completely transformed me and every single aspect of my life, not just my health, but like everything. It is so cool and has really helped me become more empowered. Um, Back to, let's see, is that all I wanted to say about spinal flow? So what has spinal flow actually helped me with? Well, it has helped me with headaches. It has helped a lot with my tinnitus. It doesn't mean that tinnitus is completely gone. It means that it has helped with it. It's helped with TMJ. Um, for me, like, the one of the coolest things about spinal flow is, like, I was already pretty hyper aware of what was going on in my body. It kind of escalated that to the next level. And that has helped so much with further modifying my diet and my lifestyle to keep from adding these stressors back into my body, to avoid the foods that were causing me to store chemical stresses, and to actually change some of the situations that were contributing to the emotional stressors that I was storing. So, like, I cannot speak highly enough about this modality. Like I say, I've never experienced anything like it. From a, you may not be here for the business side. I'm going to throw this out there for anybody listening that is a business owner. From the business side, it has helped me get unstuck. For a long time, I felt like I was just spinning my wheels, and I wholeheartedly believe Spinal Flow helped me get past that. Uh, so let's see, oh, and then as far as relationships, I am showing up so differently in every relationship. Like, my relationship with myself has changed. My relationship with everybody in my life has changed. Just how I show up. I feel like the way that I describe it to my practitioner when I'm telling her about how much I love these results is that I say it feels every session, it feels like it is creating space in my body for my soul to dwell. It's just creating more space for me to be me. And then as a plus side, it's helping with all of this other stuff too. It's helping so much with the health symptoms, it's helping so much with once again just every aspect of my life. So in case you're looking for something, like looking for the thing that you've been missing, this is my invitation to you. Give Spinal Flow a try. I offer free assessments. You will find the link below to book one of those. So, book one of those free assessments with me. Sign up for one of the workshops that I've got coming up. Look for all those links down below. All right. If you know someone who would love this video, send the link over to them. Until next time, bye.